Most small towns kind of fall apart when big cities nearby start to grow. They either lose what made them special or people just stop paying attention to them. But Monroe, North Carolina proves that that doesn't always have to happen. This small town did something that experts thought was impossible. It went from a struggling farm town to one of the most popular suburbs in the entire Charlotte area. So today I'm going to show you how Monroe pulled it off, keeping a downtown that's like straight out of a postcard. So let's get into it. So to really understand how Monroe pulled off this huge change, we need to go back to the beginning and see how things were planned in a smart way in 1843, which helped set everything up for the success that the town has today. Unlike most southern towns that grew organically, Monroe was one of the first planned communities. The founders weren't just picking a convenient spot, they were thinking like modern developers and thinking about accessibility and growth potential for the next century. It's strategically placed within 2 miles of the Union County's geographic center, as it's also the county seat. This wasn't a random placement, but calculated positioning that would take Monroe as a natural hub for everything happening in the county. It's named after President James Monroe, with a deliberate approach to urban planning. They built Monroe to be a government center that could handle growth and serve as the commercial heart of the region. In 1886, there was a beautiful Victorian courthouse that was completed. The courthouse is an architectural masterpiece with a 2-story, 5-bay main block and an impressive cupola. And this building wasn't just simply functional, it was designed to be seen from approach on every direction to downtown, establishing Monroe as this place of importance and permanence. Monroe's also home to the Central Carolina Railway, which arrived in 1874. This railway connected Wilmington's seaport to Charlotte. This single transportation link transformed Monroe from a sleepy county seat into a bustling commercial center almost overnight. But what made Monroe's railroad success even more powerful was something that couldn't even be fully realized until the expressway opened in 2018, creating the same kind of transportation revolution, which we'll explore later. Transformed from a simple government seat into a thriving market town overnight, the railroad brought opportunity, commerce, and people who saw Monroe's potential. It became a critical trading hub for agricultural products exchange with manufactured goods. Monroe became the place where rural Union County met the wider commercial world and established it as a connector and a facilitator. Monroe's early planners did something that you don't see a lot in small towns. They built it from the start to be both a place where the government ran things and where businesses could grow. They picked a smart spot, added cool buildings, and made sure that there are good ways to travel in and out. And things got even better when Georgia, Carolina, and Northern Railway linked Monroe to Atlanta in 1892. But Monroe's best days were about to be tested as the rest of the country started rushing to the suburbs. Before we take a look at what Monroe used to be like, if you're finding this deep dive helpful, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I don't do just quick tours. I break things down into real info that helps people making one of the biggest decisions in their life. Whether you're checking out well-known neighborhoods, up-and-coming spots, or hidden gems like Monroe, I've got the research that can help you save money and make the right choice. All right, so Monroe's early success was about to run into the same problem that hurt a lot of small towns across the country. When you understand what Monroe lost, it really helps you see how amazing the comeback is. In post-World War II decline, America embraced the automobile and it raced to the suburbs, and Monroe watched as the very transportation hub it helped build began to work against it, as cars made it easier for people to live and shop elsewhere. And as the retail community's flight to US Highway 74 over about 4 decades hurt downtown, the businesses that once anchored downtown Monroe's economy found it easier to service customers from highway locations, leaving downtown increasingly empty. And the Great Depression brought downtown development nearly to a halt. Even before the suburban flight, Monroe had struggled through economic collapse that left many small towns without the resources to maintain their commercial districts. And during World War II, Camp Sutton brought soldiers and families to Monroe, but little new construction was done. And the war created this temporary activity, but it didn't translate into permanent investment in Monroe's future. Monroe has some pretty cool landmarks as well. The Monroe Opera House and Hotel Joffrey. These aren't just buildings, but they're social and cultural anchors that made Monroe a destination rather than a place that people just passed through. And in the late 20th century, The historic but struggling, charming but economically challenged downtown, Monroe had the bones of a great town, but lacked the economic engine to make those bones come alive again. Monroe's decline in the mid-1900s wasn't unusual. A lot of small towns went through the same thing, but what made Monroe different was that people in charge never stopped believing that the town had something special. While other towns gave up and just accepted that things are getting worse, Monroe leaders were already thinking and coming up with a plan to bounce back. Even though it didn't seem like it at the time, Monroe's big comeback started during those tough years, and when change finally happened, it was completed in a way that connected Monroe to Charlotte. Here's the thing. For Monroe to change, it needed two big things that rarely happen at the same time. First is smart planning, and the second is a huge investment in things like roads and buildings. The first step in Monroe's comeback was coming up with a clear plan to guide the town's growth instead of reacting to just whatever happened. Town planners adopted this downtown master plan that read, a lively mix of quality retail shops, professional services, restaurants, entertainment, and upper floor residential space. That wasn't just wishful thinking, but a detailed roadmap for how to blend Monroe's historic character with modern suburban amenities. The vision was ambitious, but Monroe had the infrastructure to make it possible. The master plan worked because it was built on real transportation and economic advantages rather than just hoping for the best. The second step, and the most important project Monroe had ever taken on, was a huge infrastructure plan that took 30 years to fully plan and build. The first was the Monroe Expressway. It was completed in 2018 with an $800 million investment, and it took 30 years in planning. It wasn't just a road project, but it completely reimagined Monroe's relationship with the whole entire Charlotte metropolitan area. The Expressway is an 18-mile toll road bypassing 27 traffic signals on US Highway 74. Every one of those traffic lights represented time, frustration, and a barrier between Monroe and economic opportunity. With 27 lights representing about 25 minutes in time savings, the expressway has created this relationship where Monroe now feels like a suburb instead of a distant small town from the city of Charlotte. When you combine that with a direct I-485 connection to Mecklenburg County in eastern Union County, it integrated Monroe into Charlotte's highway system rather than leaving it as an afterthought. What felt like stop-and-go traffic through dozens of lights before now yielded this smooth, high-speed connection between Monroe and Charlotte, and it changed Monroe's entire identity and market position. The expressway had this huge impact on real estate right away. Property values jumped fast, and it opened up new opportunities that are still shaping Monroe's housing market today. We're going to take a look at those coming up in just a second. With its new infrastructure ready, Monroe was finally able to use its farming roots as a strength while also building a modern community. Currently, Union County ranks third in North Carolina in agribusiness, about $411 million a year. This agricultural base provides stability and an identity that many suburban communities lack entirely. Monroe doesn't lack in major employers. In fact, Tyson Foods and Pilgrims has 2,500 employers, and 50 million chickens. And Duke Foods has a $10 million investment and about 200 to 300 jobs in the chicken salad and food product industry. These combine to make Monroe economically stable no matter what happens in Charlotte. And Monroe has begun to diversify economically. With $1.4 billion in investments in aerospace since 2002, Monroe has become a statewide leader in high-tech manufacturing, which all centers around the Charlotte-Monroe Executive Airport. Monroe's big transformation worked because it brought together three things that almost never happen at once. The town respected its history, made huge upgrades to roads and infrastructure, and had a smart plan for growing economically. Now you can see how well it worked by looking at how much the population has grown and how home prices have changed. The numbers tell a story that's pretty amazing, even when compared to other places around Charlotte. Today's growth is the result of years of planning and hard work that finally paid off. It has the kind of growth and amenities that you usually see in much bigger cities, but it still keeps the character and uniqueness that makes it stand out. Monroe's list of amenities show you that a smaller town can give you big city experiences while keeping it easy and welcoming feel of a small community. The Monroe Science Center offers hands-on experience experience and interactive exhibits for all ages. If wine and beer are your thing, check out Treehouse Vineyards or Southern Range Brewing Company. And if you're into history, check out a walking tour. You'll notice the Victorian architecture, and Monroe gets to monetize its historic character rather than just preserving it as a museum piece. The Monroe Aquatics and Fitness Centers offers state-of-the-art facilities that you'd find in much larger communities. Monroe also has both public and private country clubs and tons of retail diversity with boutiques up and down Highway 74. Downtown is where Monroe really gets its character from. With independent shops, antique stores, and restaurants, the downtown serves both residents and visitors, creating a sustainable economic base. The other thing is residents can handle daily needs without driving all the way to Charlotte. Monroe's big growth is focused on projects that bring more people in without losing what makes the town special. It's a great example of how to grow the right way in the suburbs. The first community we're going to visit, Stonebridge Fairways. Luxury homes starting around $400,000 on a golf course. Golf course communities attract affluent residents who value both recreation and real estate appraisal. And then there's Willoughby Park, new single-family homes near Highway 74 with traditional suburban development for families who want newer construction with easier highway access. But don't think that this growth in Monroe is reserved for younger families. There's a 55 and older neighborhood or an adult active community called Eagles Rest. It's going to feature 670 homes, and it will change Monroe's demographic diversity while adding to its tax base. Monroe's housing market shows how it's become a true Charlotte suburb, but it still has price advantages that probably won't stick around for long. The median home price in Monroe is $365,000 to $400,000. That offers Charlotte area amenities at prices that are still accessible to middle-class families. Monroe's market is appreciating faster than most areas, indicating a strong demand and limited supply. In fact, it was 8.2% last year. If new construction is your thing, Monroe's got a lot of options and an extensive opportunity between $300,000 and $400,000. Builders are targeting this sweet spot where first-time homebuyers and move-up buyers intersect. And homes sell on average in about 68 days in Monroe. The market is competitive enough to indicate desirability, but not so hot that buyers can't compete. Monroe's real estate benefits stand out once you see the future growth plans and new infrastructure projects that we'll talk about in just a bit. The biggest impact in Monroe has been the expressway. The expressway opened up land for development and has increased property values throughout the entire region. Now, Monroe's success right now isn't just random, and it's not just a phase. The population growth, new amenities, rising home values all show that this town has figured out how to grow without losing what made it special. And when you look ahead, Monroe's future looks really strong. A bunch of key things are all coming together at the perfect time, and the growth projections show that what we're seeing now is just the beginning of what's coming. Monroe's future growth isn't just a guess, it's based on real plans and investments that are already happening, putting the town in a great spot to keep growing as Charlotte expands towards the east. There are forward-thinking plans in place that demonstrate Monroe's commitment to managing growth rather than just reacting to it. First of all, you have the Downtown Master Plan. It's a comprehensive revitalization strategy. It doesn't involve wishful thinking, but a detailed blueprint on how downtown Monroe will evolve over the next decade. And then there's the Union County 2050 Comprehensive Plan, which dictates long-term infrastructure and land use. It offers county-level planning, which ensure Monroe's growth as it coordinates with regional development patterns. And finally, Union County's Economic Development Strategy Plan, which targets industry attraction. Monroe is actively recruiting businesses that complement its existing strengths rather than compete with them. In residential communities, thousands of new homes are currently in development. Multiple builders are betting on Monroe's continued growth with substantial investments. And with continued aerospace and manufacturing expansion, Monroe's aerospace cluster continues to attract companies that want to be a part of this established ecosystem. With a growth trajectory of about 50,000 residents by 2030, Monroe is positioned to nearly double its current size while maintaining its character and livability. It's become a model for other small cities, 21st century economic success while maintaining these older historic identities. Monroe's approach offers lessons that other communities facing similar growth pressures should take heed to. Monroe proves that small towns don't have to pick between growing and keeping their character. With the right vision and action, they can do both. And you can see in the way that the population is growing and the economy is improving and life is getting better for everyone. If you're thinking about moving to the Charlotte area and you want to check out what Monroe has to offer, email us at info@jwhitegroup.com to get started today. We'll help you understand the market, find the right neighborhood, and guide you through these awesome changes that are happening right now. But don't go just yet. Be sure to watch our next video, linked right here, where we're going to rank all the Charlotte suburbs from worst to best. Trust me, some of these are going to be surprises. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.